Okay guys, so this is part 2 of my Gainward GTX 580 Phantom 3GB SLI review. So in part 1 we had a good look at the video card or cards. Yeah, we had a look at them in the system. We checked out temperatures at idle and at load. Yeah, and I gave you a listen to the fans. You know, keeping in mind that they are in a system with pretty low airflow. They are in SLI. So we looked at the fan, how loud the fans were at idle, and also how loud they were at load. And I turned them up to 100% for you. Now, talking about that, the hottest, you know, you've already seen the temperatures in video 1. And you did see the temperatures at 100% load. I think it was 84 degrees. GPU 1 got up to 84 degrees. But the hottest I've seen the cards, okay, so they were overclocked, and I'll show you the overclocking profile that I was using shortly. I was playing Crysis 2, I had the side panel on. GPU 1 got up to 98 degrees. It peaked at 98. And when it was peaking at 98, the fan speeds were at 100%, so they were pretty loud. So yeah, I've showed you what they are at 100%, how loud they are. So you know, that is very hot for this lovely cooler that's on these cards, and it's also quite loud. And you guys might think, well, that's not so good, but keeping in mind this room temperature is 35 degrees. Well, between 30 and 35 degrees. It was 32 degrees when I did the testing, and it was also about 32-33 degrees when I was playing Crysis 2. So really, that is not such a bad result, and also considering that they're an SLI and, you know, the side panels on them and the airflow is bad. So what I have for you here now is all the performance results, all the benchmark results, and also some overclocked benchmark results, and I'm going to be showing you the overclocked profile. But what I'd like to say is, okay, so this is the review for these cards, but I'm also going to have a lot more videos of these cards. I'm going to have a series of upgrade videos for this system, which is called the Singularity Beast. So make sure you watch those upgrade videos, because what you're going to see is the cards being water cooled. So there's going to be water blocks put on them. I'm going to get a third card. So I'm going to be doing a lot more testing in SLI, water cooled, overclocked, and also in Tri-SLI, water cooled and overclocked, in NVIDIA 3D Surround, etc, etc. There's just going to be a lot more testing. So what I'm going to show you now, I haven't had a lot of time to compile all these results, and what I'm trying to say is that once I get these things water cooled, I'm going to be doing a lot more overclocking and also a lot more testing. So yeah, make sure you watch those Singularity Beast upgrade videos, because you are going to see more benchmarks, more overclocking, and also a whole lot more, because I'm not just upgrading the video cards. I'm going to be doing other upgrades as well, which I'm keeping a secret for now. I'm going to keep it as a surprise. So these are the default clocks of this card. It's an overclocked version, only slightly overclocked. It runs at 783 on the core and 2010 on the memory. So the overclocking profile that I used, I'll just show you that right now. Okay, that's it there, just so that you know what it is when you're looking at the benchmark results. So it's not a huge overclock. You know, it's a reasonable overclock. I didn't want to go too far on air cooling, because simply the cards are just getting too hot. So heat was my barrier, and that was really as far as I can go for now until I get these things Well, not as far as I can go. I could certainly go a lot further, but I didn't want to push these things too hard because they're very expensive, and what's the point in pushing them too hard? I'm going to be water cooling them soon, and then I'll be safe to play around with a lot harsher overclocks then. Okay, so here is, I know I could have done this up better in some graphs and things, but just keeping it simple, and I didn't have a whole lot of time. So Dead Space 2 at 1920 by 1080. These are all SLI results. I haven't done any single card results at all, because single card results are just going to come out the same as a stock GTX 580, or maybe slightly better because of the very slight overclock that are on the cards. So if you want to know single card results, you can watch my MSI Twin Frozer 2 GTX 580 review. So I've got some single card results on that are going to be very similar to this card because they're both GTX 580s. So SLI 1920 by 1080 settings, all these results, the settings are maxed out, but I'm not running any anti-aliasing, and I'm not running vertical sync either. But 3D vision, vertical sync is enabled by default. So 175 frames per second at 1920 by 1080. At 5760 by 1080, 137 FPS. So that's not bad. That's not much of a decrease considering that massive resolution. 5760 by 1080 3D vision is 59.97 FPS, so it is actually capped at 60 FPS. That's the reason why it got that result. So Left 4 Dead 2 I couldn't do 1920 by 1080 because there's actually no option. There was no option for it for me. It's just something to do with the drivers I'm running and the triple screens. Talking about drivers, I'm actually running the 270.51 betas. Okay, so 5760 by 1080, 87.25 FPS, 3D vision 59.98 because it's capped at 60. So basically it's performing extremely well in 3D vision surround because it's performing at the maximum FPS that it possibly can. So Crysis 2 1920 by 1080, 82.77 FPS, 3D vision at 1920 by 1080, right at the cap again at 60 FPS, 5760 by 1080, 46.6 FPS, and I can't run 3D vision in triple screens because of a bug. Hawks 2 117 FPS at 1920 by 1080, at 5760 by 1080 99 FPS, and at 5760 by 1080 3D vision 37 FPS. Okay, so Metro 2033 I did as well. So there's the settings there. You can pause that. Just scrolling down to the, I won't show you all the individual results. The one that you really need to take into account is the average frame rate, so keep that one in mind. So this is at 1920 by 1080. Very high with depth of field. It's basically with everything turned up on 1920 by 1080. That's overclocked. That's at 5760 by 1080 with everything on very high, everything to the max. So that's why the frame rate's so low. That's overclocked. Now this is at 5760 by 1080 3D vision with everything on very high. So as you can see, even on these two high-end cards, you know, two GTX 580s in SLI, you still cannot run Metro 2033 on triple screens and 3D vision. So that's overclocked, 5760 by 1080 with 3D vision. So remember keeping the average FPS in mind, because that's the one that you want to be thinking about. Now I just ran a different graphics profile here just to show you that if you do lower the settings, it is playable. Okay, so this is at 5760 by 1080 medium settings with depth of field off. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Still, you know, pretty low, but 28.33 FPS. I don't know why it got down to 3.6. I think that's actually a glitch at the start of the benchmark. In triple screens, it really dips down. As you know, at the start of the benchmark, I'm not sure if you've seen this one, but it fades from black, and yeah, I think that's what that is. That's a bit of a glitch actually. That minimum frame rate. So just ignore that, although it does affect the overall, the average. So that's overclocked at my medium setting. And I didn't run 3D vision at that medium setting. Okay, so Heaven benchmark, it's the 2.5 version. Pause those settings. They're actually the default settings. So this is at 1920 by 1080. As I said, default settings. So keep in mind that main score there. This is at 5760 by 1080, so not much of a performance hit really, which is really good. Now that's 5760 by 1080 3D vision, so that's a serious performance hit. It's halved it, which, you know, that's about right. And that's 5760 by 1080 3D vision overclocked. Okay, so this is 3D Mark 11, the performance profile. 3D Mark 11 performance profile overclocked. Extreme profile, stock clocks. And that is stock clocks 3D Mark Vantage. The performance profile. So there you go. That's all this, the benchmarks that I managed to do in the very little time that I've had. Because I've got some major client builds going on at the moment. Nothing too exciting. It's just for some offices. So nothing that you guys would be really interested in. It's not high-end hardware. Now, if there's any other benchmarks that you want me to run, if there's any other results that you want me to get for you, just put it in the comments. I'm happy to run any benchmark you want, any resolution, any configuration, you name it, I'll do it. I know my results are a bit scarce, you know, I haven't done a lot, and I know the way I've compiled them is a bit unsatisfactory. Usually I just run, you know, 4 benchmarks: 3D Mark Vantage, 3D Mark 11, the Unison Heaven benchmark, and also Metro 2033, so it's quite easy to show them up on the screen. But I wanted to run more because this time I'm testing in 3D vision and I'm testing SLI. So this was a bigger review than normal, and because it involves an upgrade to the Singularity Beast. Anyway, I've been blabbing on for quite a while here, so that concludes my review of the Gainward GTX 580 Phantom 3GB edition. And make sure you watch the Singularity Beast upgrade videos. There's going to be 3 of them for a lot more details on these cards. I've already mentioned what I'm going to be doing, and also for some surprise upgrades on the Singularity Beast. Thanks for watching, guys, and please subscribe.